Hey there, welcome in. Tonight we're going somewhere quiet, somewhere soft, low to the earth, and humming with tiny, steady life. This is a slow story, not one to keep you up, but to help you wind down. So go ahead, grab a blanket, get comfortable, and let the day slip away for a little while. You're watching the quiet industry of field mice, a day beneath the meadow, a gentle journey through the hidden hours of a world most of us never notice. No loud sounds, no surprises, just the soothing rhythm of nature's smallest workers. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, or what calming creature you'd like to explore next. I love hearing where these stories find you. Morning does not arrive with fanfare here. It seeps in, quiet and low, like steam rising from warm earth. Light drapes itself gently over the meadow's curves. It is not sudden. It does not command attention. It merely arrives. And the mice, in their hidden world just beneath the surface, feel its presence before they see it. Their tunnels, winding, shallow and warm, glow faintly now with filtered light as the sun begins its gentle climb, not in beams or bursts, but as a slow shifting of shadow, a wash of soft gold along the dirt-packed walls, a suggestion of warmth still to come. The eldest among them is already awake, not by hours, but by instincts honed through seasons. He has seen many winters. His coat is thinning, his ears torn just slightly at the edges, but he still moves with care, with knowledge. His name does not matter. There are no names here, only roles, rhythms, responsibilities. He noses forward through a long corridor, one lined in flattened grass and the dusty memory of last year's leaves. His feet move surely, even in dimness. He pauses, once, at a familiar bend, where the scent of mint root lingers from the spring before last, then climbs a gentle incline toward the world above. At the surface, the air is cool but not cold. The grass is damp but not soaking. It is a good morning. The mouse emerges slowly. His whiskers twitch first, followed by a half-step of cautious observation. He tastes the air with his nose, measuring for danger. No recent predator trails. No thunder in the distance. Only the gentle hush of early light and a faint flutter of wings somewhere overhead. All is well. Behind him, others begin to stir. Not as many as in seasons past. The meadow has grown quieter in recent months. But enough. There are still young ones to feed, still roots to find, still seed husks hidden beneath the thorn brush, waiting for careful pause. One by one, the foragers emerge. They do not speak, not in the way we understand it, but their movements form a language all their own. One mouse pauses just beyond the tunnel mouth, her body still as stone. She listens, not for sound, but for vibration. Her ears, rounded and pink like tiny petals, turn slowly left, then right. A single leaf shifts in the breeze 20 paces away. She notes it, then moves forward. They spread slowly across the low meadow, never venturing far, always within a network of nearby holes and burrows. Safety, to them, is not about distance, it is about knowledge. Knowing every patch of cover, every stone, every scent trail. And so the morning forage begins, not as a rush, but as a quiet dispersal. One finds a seed head, brittle, half buried in last week's rain. He gnaws gently, gathering loose kernels in his paws. Another noses through moss, uncovering something softer, smaller, a beetle shell perhaps, or the dry remains of some past meal. It is taken without ceremony. They work in silence, each to their own rhythm, and yet their movements form a kind of pattern, one shaped not by orders but by intuition. Like dancers in a slow, earthy ballet, they weave between stems and stones, through burdock leaves and under clumps of wild chamomile. The sun is climbing now, still low, still golden, but stronger. Light flickers across their backs as they move. Their shadows stretch behind them in long, quiet lines. A young mouse, barely into her second season, pauses at a patch of clover. She sniffs once, twice. Her breath fogs faintly in the cool air. Then, with a soft grunt, she begins to dig. Not deep, just enough to shift the soil. Beneath, nestled between two roots, she finds a prize, a forgotten cache. Tiny seeds, long stored, now hers by chance or fate. She gathers them quickly, tucking what she can into her cheeks. She glances up, the way mice do, upward and outward at once, before vanishing once more into the hidden lattice of tunnels below. This is how it goes. Hour by hour, the meadow brightens. The light no longer gold, but white, softening the blues of morning into the greens of full day. The breeze picks sway. A few insects hum lazily through the air, their wings catching sunbeams like drifting bits of glass. The mice do not chase them, that is not their way. Instead, they focus on what endures, seeds, stems, the overlooked. The meadow gives and they receive, slowly, respectfully, without greed. Far across the field, a hawk circles. Its shadow slips over the grass, long and sharp-edged. The mice freeze, not one moves. It is a stillness that lives in the body, learned, not chosen. A stillness honed over thousands of generations. They do not panic, they do not bolt. They vanish in place, becoming part of the meadow's stillness. The hawk passes. It does not dive. Today is not their day. The breath returns to the field. Slowly, life resumes. One mouse flicks his tail as if shaking off the moment. Another resumes nibbling, and the morning forage continues. Some bring their finds back in stages. A kernel here, a husk there. Others fill their cheeks until full and vanish below for several long minutes, returning lighter and quieter. There is no leader among them, no command, but somehow the rhythm persists, a natural order, not imposed but understood. As mid-morning approaches, the meadow begins to warm. The dew, once glistening on leaf tips, has evaporated. The scent of sun-warmed grass fills the air. It is a good scent, clean, alive, and thick with history. A mouse rests now beneath the shade of a dock leaf, chewing slowly, unhurried. His eyes half-lidded, ears twitching faintly. Around him, the ground is scattered with the quiet wreckage of breakfast. Hulls, shells, bits of root. He stretches, a slow, full-body stretch from nose to tail. Then he curls slightly, not to sleep, but to sit, to feel the light, to exist. In the distance, a pair of younger mice chase one another through a patch of soft moss, their small feet making no sound. It is not play, exactly, not in the human sense, but something adjacent, something joyful, brief, and purposeless. And then, just as easily, they stop and go back to work. The sun continues its slow climb. For mice, that part of the day will end soon. Too much warmth, too much exposure. It is safer to forage early, while the birds are drowsy, while the snakes are slow, while the light is still gentle. So one by one, they begin to return. Each takes a final scan of their surroundings. Each chooses a different route back. One tunnels under a stone, another ducks beneath a withered fern, another disappears completely beneath a patch of leaf litter. her passage leaving no trace at all, and before long the meadow seems still again, but the industry beneath it continues, sorting, storing, cleaning, preparing. There is no end to the morning, only a shift, a return, a pause before the next thing. Down beneath the softly swaying grasses, where the surface dew still clings like starlight to the tips of bent blades, the underground begins to stir. There is no alarm clock in the meadow, no blinding fluorescence, only the hush of early light sifting through soil and the low murmur of roots stretching beneath the earth, a gentle world where time trickles, not ticks. In a small, winding burrow carved delicately into the bank of a gentle hill, our field mouse begins to wake. His name is of no concern to the grasses above, nor to the beetles he shares the passageways with. But for the sake of familiarity, let's call him Thimble, a small name fitting for a small creature in a vast and rustling world. Thimble twitches his whiskers as his little body unfurls from a ball of sleep. His nest, crafted of soft moss, thread-like grasses, and downy feathers stolen from the trails of passing birds, glows faintly with the golden hints of morning. A sleepy blink, then another. He yawns, the tiniest sound, hardly more than a thought, and slowly Thimble rises to begin his day. The tunnel is dim, but warm. Above, the roots of an old tree press through the ceiling like wooden ribs, gnarled and ancient. Some leak the scent of sap, others cradle dewdrops collected during the cool night, now suspended like liquid pearls from their coarse surfaces. Thimble moves quietly, pausing only to sniff at a dried seed husk left from the evening before. He doesn't eat just yet. First, the tunnel must be checked. He pads softly along the narrow corridor, walls brushing against his sides like a soft hug. The ground is dry but cool. Each step of his tiny pink feet is a whisper in the soil. The burrow splits. One passage continues forward, deeper into the dark. The other curves gently upward, leading toward the surface. He chooses the latter. There is no rush. The day comes slowly here. As Thimble climbs, he passes landmarks he knows well. A curved pebble lodged into the wall like a moonstone, a shallow divot where he once rested with a brother, and the broken half of a beetle shell, now smooth and dry, worn like pottery, all familiar, all quiet. Above him, the tunnel ends at a patch of woven grass, a secret door, cleverly constructed, that opens with a nudge of his nose. The morning air spills like a sigh. Outside, the meadow stretches in every direction, pale green under the waking sun. Mist clings to the stalks. Spiderwebs glisten in the cool light. All around, the sounds of waking life begin to hum. The distant trill of a morning bird, the faint scuttle of a beetle, the rustle of something much larger passing through the brush far, far away. But here, at the edge of the tunnel mouth, it is peaceful. Thimble sits for a moment. He closes his eyes and lets the new day find him. His ears twitch with the wind, and his nose reads the air like a story. Damp moss, ripe seeds, the shadow of a worm turning beneath the soil. The meadow is waking too. Nearby, dew drips from a leaf and lands with a soft pat on a flattened patch of clover. A snail, slow and deliberate, inches past a fallen acorn. Ants crawl in single-file lines across a slender twig. Nothing hurries here. Every movement has its own rhythm, like a slow, earthy waltz. Thimble steps out. His feet touch the cool ground, and the world does not resist. It welcomes him, quiet and soft. His first task of the day is simple, checking the perimeter. The nest must remain safe. He circles the entryway, nose low, following trails invisible to the eye. Each scent is a sentence. The night wanderings of a shrew, the passing shadow of a weasel, the fading trace of a dew-drinking moth. Nothing dangerous, not now, but still, caution wraps around him like a scarf. A gust of wind lifts a few loose blades of grass and carries them, twirling lazily through the air. Thimble watches them go, then presses on. His tail draws a faint line behind him in the dust. He stops to nibble on a cracked oat he buried yesterday. Just a light breakfast, enough to stir his energy. He eats in silence, each bite slow, savouring. The oat crumbles between his teeth, and its warmth spreads across his chest. A good start. From here, the day will unfold slowly. Beyond the hill, the meadow stretches into a soft mosaic of wildflowers and tall grasses. Thimble will soon make his way toward the old burrow tree, where the roots spill out in curling fingers, and where beetles and seed husks often collect. But not yet. The morning is still thick with quiet. Before leaving, he returns once more to his burrow's entrance, brushes aside the woven grass flap and pats down the interior edge with his paws. A small repair, a little maintenance. It's a house after all, and a house must be tended to no matter how small. The soil around the entry is firm. Good. Rain may come later, and water will bead off rather than pour in. He presses his body against the tunnel walls as he heads back inside, gathering a few stray bits of moss along the way. These he nudges into his nest, fluffs gently, then steps back out. A job well done. Outside again, the sun has risen just a little higher. The light is golden now, filtering through the grasses in soft shafts. Dust motes drift in the air. Somewhere, a cricket chirps a single note, as if testing its voice. Another answer. The day has begun in earnest. Thimble sets off along a narrow path, one made not by design, but by repetition. His paws know the way. It leads through a dip in the earth, beneath an arch of bent clover, and past a smooth, round stone warmed by the morning. He rubs his flank against the stone as he passes, absorbing a trace of its warmth. He pauses at a puddle, one formed from last night's dew, still untouched. Leaning forward, he laps at it with a tiny tongue, careful not to dip his nose. The water is cold, crisp, and tastes faintly of grass. A few drops cling to his whiskers when he pulls away. Nearby, a ladybug crawls across the stem of a wild violet. She pauses, flicks her wings, then continues on. Thimble watches briefly, then turns back to his path. Further ahead lies the heart of the meadow. Here, grass grows taller and thicker, shadows shift more deeply, and the sounds of life become more layered. The crinkle of beetle shells underfoot, the occasional chirp of a wren overhead, and the soft drum of something unseen moving through thickets. But Thimble is not afraid. He is small, but he belongs here. His presence is just one note in the larger music of the meadow, quiet, unassuming, but essential. As he moves deeper into the grass, the world grows denser, more vibrant. He stops to press his nose into a flowering stem, savouring its faint, earthy perfume. A cluster of seeds dangles from a neighbouring stalk. Not quite ripe. He will note it later. Thimble's day is one of patience, slow gathering, tending, and exploring, but none of it feels like work. In the quiet industry of field mice, every moment is part of a rhythm older than language. There is no hurry, no expectation, only now and the next small step. And so, beneath the meadow's great cathedral of grass, our little mouse carries on, one paw ahead of the other, through sunlight, shadow, and the gentle breath of wind. The meadow has fully woken now. Where once the light crept gently along the grass blades, it now spills openly, washing the hilltops and stems in a soft, even glow. The early hush has lifted, not into noise, but into a kind of low, living hum, the kind you feel more than hear. A breeze brushes lightly over the tops of the wild rye and yarrow. Petals tremble, shadows stretch and shorten, and among the stalks, just where the clover patch fades into the elder nettles, Thimble moves with quiet purpose. His ears flick gently in different directions, reading the tremors of grass and air. His whiskers twitch as he pauses beside a half-eaten husk of something. Too old, too bitter. He continues on. This is the hour for foraging, not too early when predators still stalk the dim, and not too late when the sun makes the stems too warm and brittle to rest beneath. This in-between time is the golden window. Thimble knows it well. His goal this morning is the elder burrow tree, where fallen seeds collect like coins in a forgotten purse. The tree, old and hollow in parts, stands just beyond the rock ledge, wrapped in a tangle of roots that curve like the fingers of something long asleep. Beneath those roots, the world is cooler, safe. But first, there is the journey. Thimble follows a path of his own making. He pauses often, sniffing, listening, assessing. The meadow is not a place of urgency. It is a place of attentiveness. Everything must be noticed, not feared, just noted. A shifting breeze, the murmur of wings, the distant crackle of something brittle underfoot. It all means something. Today, the air is dry and sweet, tinged faintly with the aroma of crushed violets and warm dirt, the kind of scent that settles behind the eyes and makes you want to close them just for a moment. Thimble does, briefly, just enough to listen better. Then, on he goes. He clambers up the side of a sloping route where ants march in orderly trails. He does not disturb them. They do not disturb him. Each has their work, their rhythm, their route. That is the law here, invisible but deeply felt. Everything has a place, even him. At the top of the route, Thimble pauses to rest. His chest rises and falls, slow and steady. A tiny paw brushes away a leaf fragment from his path. He looks out. From here, he can see the shadowed bowl where the tree stands. He is close now. Around him, the meadow stirs with little lives. A pair of moths flutter from beneath a burdock leaf. A grasshopper clings to a stem, unmoving, camouflaged in stillness. A spider lowers itself silently from a branch, its legs barely touching the air. Thimble drops down the other side of the route. His landing is soft, almost soundless. The tree comes into view, not tall but wide and worn with age. Its bark is thick with lichen, its roots knot across the ground like woven rope. Between two of those roots lies a natural hollow, shaded and dry, where the earth dips inward like a shallow basin. This is where Thimble begins his work. He noses aside a few stray leaves and peers beneath a patch of soil loosened by wind. A small pile of millet seeds glints faintly, dropped perhaps by a careless finch or a shifting breeze. He gathers them carefully into his cheeks, storing them in the soft pockets just behind his jaw. Another dip of his head, another find, a curled acorn cap, nearly whole, its edges still fresh and smooth. Not for eating, but for use. Perhaps it will hold water later, or become part of the bedding back home. He tucks it under one arm and moves to the next root. Here, he unearths a kernel of dried barley, harder than he prefers, but it will do. Into the cheek pouch it goes. This kind of foraging is not glamorous. It is not thrilling, but it is sacred in its own small way. A ritual, a rhythm. Above, the wind moves again, a warm gust this time, lifting petals from nearby wildflowers and carrying them through the air in a loose, tumbling dance. One of them brushes Thimble's fur and falls to the ground. He sniffs at it, just a petal, nothing more. Still, it's lovely in its softness. Satisfied with this corner, he shifts slightly to the left and climbs a low patch of bark. The tree creaks gently as he moves, not in protest, just in greeting. Under a knot in the wood, another treasure, a tiny, forgotten grain of sunflower seed. Licked clean on one side, but untouched on the other, a perfect half-meal. Thimble gathers it all, not hurried but steady. Each item collected, each scent memorized. By the end of the hour, his cheeks are full and his tiny arms cradle the acorn cap like a bowl. It is enough for now. He turns and retraces his steps, padding slowly back toward the tunnel, the grass bending gently around him. The world is warm now, and the sounds have changed. More birdsong, more rustle. The day has deepened. He moves slower now, not from weariness, but from contentment, the same way one walks home after a job well done or a visit to a quiet friend. There is no need to rush. The sun has hours yet to spend. As he rounds the final bend before his hill, he pauses beside the stone once again, the same warm, rounded one from earlier. It has heated further now, and he leans against it for just a moment, letting the warmth press through his fur. The acorn cap, still nestled against him, is placed gently at the tunnel entrance. He noses open the woven grass flap and disappears inside. Within the cool dark of his burrow, Thimble sets about storing what he's brought. He places the seeds in the small pantry chamber, smoothing them into place with soft taps of his paws. The barley kernel is added to the harder pile near the back, better saved for later. The acorn cap he sets beside his nest, turning it once to check its balance. It sits perfectly still, holding a single dewdrop that rolled in from the outer tunnel. He watches the droplet shimmer for a while, catching faint glimmers of reflected light from the entrance, and then, with a sigh small as a thought, he settles onto his bedding once more, not to sleep, not yet, but to rest, to let the morning pass through him. Above, the meadow continues on, petals fall, wings flutter, a breeze hums, and beneath it all the quiet industry continues. The sun, now drifting high above the meadow, hangs in a pale, hazy sky, its light soft rather than sharp, as if filtered through a sheer veil of cloud and grass blades. Warm, golden beams reach gently into the underbrush, soaking the ground in a quiet, amber glow. This is the meadow's midday, not loud or bustling, but comfortably full. Like a library of living things, all humming softly with their own small tasks. Thimble, now back from his earlier foraging, stands just outside the mouth of his burrow. His paws rest against the edge of a flat stone, and his whiskers twitch in the breeze. Though his cheeks are no longer full, and his belly is gently content, there is more to do. His morning rounds are complete, but the meadow holds more than seeds and safety. It holds stories. And today, Thimble is curious. He turns away from the entrance to his home and sets off once more, but this time in a different direction. Not toward the foraging roots or the dew pond, but along a winding, shaded path near the base of the elder thistle wall. This trail is not one he takes often. It is used mostly in the quieter seasons, when the frost stiffens the grass and the snakes sleep beneath curled leaves. But now, in the middle of this soft, still summer, the path remains clear, just narrow enough for a field mouse to pass, just hidden enough to remain undisturbed. Here the stems grow denser, taller. They curve inward as he walks, forming a tunnel of green that sways gently above his head. Light dapples through in shifting patterns. Every few steps Thimble pauses, not from fear, but from a practiced patience. He listens for the flutter of wings, the subtle shift of lizard feet, the snap of a twig under something not his own, but all remains calm. The air here smells of cool stone and old bark. The ground is slightly damp, rich with the scent of mulch and moss. A few dried beetle shells crunch lightly under his toes. He walks until the path begins to widen, and there, nestled among a ring of crooked roots and overgrown mushrooms, stands an old hollow tree, split at the base, curved like a gaping mouth, and lined inside with soft decay and cobwebs. This is not the burrow tree, nor one used for food. This is a place of observation, of quiet watchfulness. Thimble approaches slowly. To most creatures, this tree would seem useless. Its center is hollowed by time. Its bark peels in long, curling strips. Fungus blooms along its southern side. But to Thimble, and to generations of mice before him, it is something more. A lookout, a gathering place, a memory. Inside the hollow, the air is cooler, dustier. Shafts of sun poke through narrow splits in the bark, painting golden stripes across the decayed interior. Feathers, moss, and insect husks line the walls in soft nests, old, abandoned now, but preserved like fossils in the stillness. Thimble steps in. His paws make no sound against the damp wood. He moves in a slow circle, sniffing old corners, brushing against a long-forgotten feather that still smells faintly of wren. At the far side of the hollow, there's a split in the wood, a crack that forms a window, just wide enough for a mouse to sit and watch the world. And so, Thimble climbs. He makes his way up the rough interior wall, using root knots and grooves for footholds. At the top, he settles into a natural perch, a scoop in the bark shaped over seasons that cradles his body perfectly. He peers through the crack. Outside, the meadow sprawls in sunlit glory. Wind ripples across the top of the grasses in slow waves, and small figures dart through the light. A bird lifts off from a distant stone. A beetle crawls along the edge of a fern. Insects spiral upward in loose columns of light. It's not a dramatic view. Nothing bursts or shouts, but it is rich, full, the kind of view that seeps into the heart rather than the eyes. Thimble remains still, breathing slow, watching. This is not the part of the day for movement. It is the part for listening. From his hidden place, he sees the rhythms of the meadow unfold without interference. He sees a toad puff itself up to scare away a curious squirrel. He watches a weasel skirt the edge of the field, nose to the ground. He sees a pair of mice, not from his own warren, travel together across a shaded log, one carrying a blade of grass in its mouth like a prize. He watches the dance of life, quiet and unannounced. Time passes differently here. The sun shifts slowly. Shadows move across his paws. A breeze pushes a loose bit of bark across the floor of the hollow. Somewhere far off, a jay calls once, then falls silent. Thimble lets his eyes close, just for a moment, not to sleep, but to rest deeper, to feel the stillness inside match the stillness outside. When he opens them again, the light has tilted, slightly. It is time to move. He climbs down from the perch and makes his way to the back of the hollow. Here, near the base, is another small tunnel, half overgrown with moss and leaves. It's an old passage, barely used now, but once, long ago, it led to a secondary food chamber shared by many mice when the burrow was fuller. Though the tunnel is collapsed now, Thimble noses at its entrance, brushing aside debris. He isn't looking for food. He's remembering. He sits beside it for a while, ears still, whiskers slightly trembling. The air here smells of roots and age, of time passing slowly, and then, finally, he turns and exits the hollow. Outside, the sun has passed its peak. The colours of the meadow shift, from gold to a deeper amber, from morning light to the promise of afternoon shadow. Thimble walks the path back slowly. His steps are quieter than before, and his body more still. He does not carry seeds or treasures this time. He carries only silence. As he reaches the edge of the clover, he pauses again at the smooth stone. This time, he lies down beside it, not fully curled but stretched, his back warmed by sun, his face cooled by breeze. And there, for a while, he rests. Around him, the meadow breathes. The afternoon in the meadow arrives not with a bang, but with a breath, long and gentle, like the world exhaling. The sharp brightness of midday has softened now, blunted by wisps of cloud and the gentle descent of the sun along its slow arc toward evening. Nothing here shouts, nothing hurries. Above the soil, the tall stalks of golden grasses and wild barley sway in slow conversation, their hushed voices stirred only by the passing wind. Beneath them, in the narrow corridors carved out by foot and time, Thimble the field mouse resumes his quiet journey. He walks a little slower now, not from fatigue, but from fullness. The day has already given him much: food, safety, stillness, and now it gives him the gift of wandering, not purposeful like foraging, not productive like nesting, just wandering, with eyes open and ears alert to the 100 hidden rhythms of the world. This part of the meadow is deeper and denser, a place where the grasses grow tall enough to touch and cross, where light filters through in stripes and soft columns. It feels almost like a forest here, even though it is made only of grass. The world is different when viewed from the height of a mouse. A single blade of rye might arch above like a cathedral ceiling. A patch of clover becomes a shaded grove. A fallen leaf is a landmark. A mushroom is a cottage. Thimble pauses beneath a wide oxeye daisy whose stem leans like a crooked tower. He presses his paws to its base and sniffs. The scent is sharp, floral, and faintly bitter. He rubs a bit of the petal across his fur, the way he was taught, leaving behind its oil. A simple habit, something that helps mask his own scent as he travels. Not out of fear, just instinct. He moves on. Beneath a stand of tall fescue, he discovers a small hollow, not a tunnel, not a nest, just a space between roots and stems where the earth dips and the air feels cooler. He steps inside. It is quiet here. Not silent. The meadow is never truly silent, but close. The chirr of insects is more distant, the rustle of wind more muffled. Thimble lowers himself slowly onto a soft patch of moss, flattens his belly and lets himself settle. Not to sleep, not even to rest, just to be. Above him, tiny flecks of dust and pollen dance in the light. A beetle crawls across a fallen seed pod. Somewhere nearby, a distant trill echoes, a bird calling to no one in particular. This small hollow becomes his world for a time. He closes his eyes, ears still alert, and breathes. The ground beneath him is cool. The moss smells of shade and age. Every few heartbeats, he twitches a whisker or shifts a paw. But mostly, he simply listens, and when he opens his eyes again, the sun has shifted. He rises slowly, shakes out his fur, and continues on. Ahead, the grass is thin, revealing a gentle incline that leads toward the elder nettles, a spiny patch he usually avoids. But today, drawn by a scent he can't quite place, he veers closer. The air here smells different, sharper, earthy, with a trace of something sweet. As he nears, he sees the source, a fallen apple, half hidden beneath a cluster of ferns. Its skin is bruised and dented, its insides beginning to glisten. Thimble approaches carefully. He circles once, twice, then climbs atop a nearby root to get a better view. The apple is fresh enough to eat and not yet claimed by ants. He descends slowly and steps closer. His nose twitches. A small bite is all he needs. The taste is tart, crisp at first, then mellow. It fills his mouth and warms his belly. He eats slowly, savouring. Not too much, a few nibbles, then he stops. There will be time for more later. He wipes his paws along the grass and backs away. A good find. Just as he turns to leave, something shifts nearby. A soft flutter, not loud, but near. Thimble freezes. Out from behind a tuft of marjoram, a butterfly rises. Pale blue wings, edged in smoky grey, it lifts with a gentle beat and circles overhead, drifting lazily through the shafts of late sunlight. Thimble watches, still as stone. The butterfly drifts downward once, hovers briefly above the apple, then rises again and disappears into the grasses. He exhales slowly. There is no danger here, just movement, just presence. He presses forward, now walking along the edge of the nettles, mindful of their sting. This path is unfamiliar, a little wild, a little tangled, but it feels safe, as if the meadow itself has wrapped him in a layer of quietness. A few minutes later, he comes upon another mouse. She stands near the base of a thistle stalk, sniffing the air. Her fur is streaked with dust, and she carries a small bundle of dried grass tied in twine across her back. She doesn't see him at first. Thimble steps lightly to the side and watches. Eventually she turns. Their eyes meet. They do not speak. Mice do not speak the way people do, but there is recognition, a moment of shared stillness, a mutual nod, a soft flick of whiskers. Then she continues on, disappearing into a tunnel beneath a fallen log. Thimble waits a moment longer, then follows a different path, not to avoid her, but to respect the rhythm of her route. The encounter lingers with him as he walks, a reminder that he is not alone in this quiet world, that others move through it, softly, steadily, each living their own day beneath the same sun. Eventually, he returns to familiar ground. The tall grasses begin to thin. The hill where his burrow waits peeks out from behind a patch of elderberry. The wind shifts again, carrying with it the scent of evening, cooler, richer, touched with the faint aroma of damp earth and falling petals. Thimble slows. His paws feel the warmth still held in the soil. His whiskers catch the echo of fading light. The meadow has changed again. Not dramatically, not loudly, but certainly. The afternoon has passed, and with it, another chapter in his quiet life beneath the stalks.